The biggest news of the week translated for Gen Z. My mentor once told me the news is about what's happening right now, and what is also important is what happened yesterday and what is likely to happen tomorrow. This is one of those yesterday things. In 1986, a young senator by the name of Joe Biden gave this speech on the floor of Congress.
It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
This is that same man, now President of the United States, yesterday.
If Israel didn't exist, we'd have to invent it. Israel must again be a safe place for the Jewish people.
Now, when you search Israel invention Joe Biden, you get this speech from yesterday saying Israel needs to be protected. Just like when you search Taylor Swift jets, you get her at the NFL game for Travis Kelce instead of her carbon emissions. Between Saturday and Friday, the Israeli forces have bombarded Gaza with 6,000 bombs. 2,778 Palestinians have been killed, over 9,700 have been wounded, and there's another 1,200, including women and children, lost under rubble. The Defense Minister Gallant has announced a total blockade. He said, "We're putting a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no gas. It's all closed." He also said, "We are fighting human animals." People have been circulating this chart, which reflects the deaths of Israelis and the deaths of Palestinians during this conflict. This is how the map of Israel has changed as they take more Palestinian land and kill and displace more Palestinian people. 4 in 5 Jewish Israelis blame the current administration in Israel for the conflict, which begs the question, why is it the case that the Jewish Israeli people are more critical of the Israeli government than the United States media? To date, the United States has provided Israel with $158 billion. Remember a few months ago when the U.S. government was all like, "Oh my God, we're going broke"? The U.S. Treasury Secretary said that the United States can't afford to support 2 wars. I've never seen someone gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss their way into financing war crimes in the Middle East. Way to airstrike that glass ceiling, Janet. Human Rights Watch reported that the Israeli forces have been using white phosphorus, which is considered to be a war crime.
It can burn the human flesh down to the bone. It can also enter the bloodstream and cause organ failure.
The response is basically that Israel didn't sign that convention. So if I ever get arrested, I'm just going to tell the cops that I didn't sign the legislation that made my action illegal. I'm sure the cops would love that. The Israeli president said that there is an entire nation out there that is responsible. Herzog probably knows collective punishment is a war crime. Nevertheless, on Friday, Israel announced that 1.1 million people currently in Gaza need to evacuate within 24 hours. It's like evacuating Manhattan within a day. Forced displacement of civilians is also a war crime. Israel has bombed southern Gaza, which was the exit route for many of those trying to flee. Now there are more than 1 million Palestinians stuck within an 8-mile strip. The spokesperson for Israel's digital communications posted that Israel had bombed a hospital. Then after international outcry, the post was deleted and they said that Hamas was actually responsible for bombing the hospital, which is sus, to say the least. There's a lot of contention about the hospital bombing, but it is confirmed that they are bombing a school in a refugee camp. This week, journalists covering the conflict were killed by Israel just over the border in Lebanon. A video posted an hour before they were killed shows that they were clearly marked press. Israel has said that they are sorry, but also said that they are not responsible. Today, the United States vetoed a ceasefire as voted on by the United Nations Security Council.
One vote against.
This is the diplomatic equivalent of screaming "World Star" as people are fighting with your phone up. Jewish Voice for Peace, a U.S.-based group, was protesting in the halls of Congress today, calling for a ceasefire. Protesters were arrested by Capitol Police. I think it's an important time to reflect on past instances of people in the United States being unhappy with the U.S. intervention. The American people really didn't want the United States getting involved in the war in Nicaragua, and then Congress voted unanimously promising that they would not. They did anyway, funneling money through Iran to the Contras, the right-wing group in Nicaragua, and they funded the war. One of the guys that did that, Bud McFarland, said this on the floor of Congress when he had to answer for it.
Many people have come to believe there is something wrong with the way that this country makes foreign policy. They probably don't know how wrong.